Okay, can't believe the season's here already, but we're excited about it. It's been a long off season for us. Players have worked hard. Kind of a quiet off season in a lot of ways. Guys took care of their business and didn't have anything that was negative from a player standpoint. I thought we handled ourselves pretty well. The biggest thing, obviously, in the offseason was Dennis Erickson's hire as the co-offensive coordinator, and we're excited about that. And I'm excited to see what the offense does on Thursday night. So that's really the biggest thing that I'm anticipating. Utah State, very good opponent. Well, they won 11 games last year. Quality football team, got most everybody back. New coaching, new head coach. A lot of the same assistant staff has returned, But we expect that they're going to be every bit as good as last year, and we have a big challenge ahead of us. So questions?
Coach, looking ahead to Thursday, what are some of the biggest keys for your team defensively against Utah State?
Defensively, I think we need to do, a lot of the same things we did last year. They had one touchdown through 3.5 quarters offensively. We had to block punt early, which was something that was a huge part of the game and really changed the game. But defensively, I thought we played well for the most part. A little bit soft in the run at times, but we've got to tackle well and keep the quarterback in the cage and contained in the throw game and not let him get out. And he's very good at extending the play, and when he gets out and improvises, he usually does something really good. So we got to try to prevent that from happening. But overall, I thought we played pretty good on defense last year, as a whole.
The history has been so lopsided between Utah and Utah State that some people shy away from the word rivalry with it. But their recent success, what does that do to this series and your preparation?
Well, we prepare for the same way for every game, regardless of who the opponent is. We've always had a great deal of respect for Utah State, and as I mentioned last year, they were a terrific football team, and we view it as anything in state as rivalry flavor to it, and so we approach it that way and from a mental standpoint. But like I said, they are coming off an exceptional year, and we're going to have to bring our A game in order to have a chance to win.
You've had some seasons where you've played like a lesser opponent at Division I AA, and then obviously this one. Do you have any preference of what you'd like for the first game?
I think ideally you'd like a game, your first game of the year, to be a 1AA opponent. I think if you were laying out the schedule exactly how you want it to unfold, but to me, I've never really been too concerned about how the games come up on the schedule. I mean, it's beyond our control, and so we, at least beyond my control, and so I just don't worry about it. But if we had a choice, I think we'd rather do that.
Had some inconsistencies over the years with quarterback. What do you have to say about this year's quarterback group and how you expect it to be?
Well, to say we've had inconsistencies is an understatement. The last 4 years has been not anything near what we need it to be quarterback-wise, from a consistency, from a production, from a continuity standpoint, all the above. And so we're hoping this year that we put an end to that. We've got a much improved offensive line. At least we feel it's much improved. We'll have to find that out for sure on Thursday night. But with Travis Wilson being our quarterback, he's a much bigger, stronger guy than the quarterbacks in years past, 6'6" and 240 plus pounds. And so we're hoping that this is the year, for the first time in many years, 4 years, I guess, that we're able to finish the season with the same quarterback that we start the season with. So we'll see if we can get that done.
USU, this week's opponent, is returning a new coaching staff with Gary Anderson departing to Wisconsin. How does that change the dynamic at Utah State? They have a new defensive coordinator and new position coaches as well.
Yeah, well, it changes things a little bit, and like I said, there is a few of the assistants that stayed behind and are still on that staff, and Coach Wells, I think, and all I can do is liken it to when I took over for Urban. Things that aren't broke, you don't try to fix. And so I think that you're going to see a lot of similarities between last year's Utah State football team and this year's as far as schematics and how they operate. And I would be shocked if there's wholesale change. And so we'll see what happens. But relative to the situation I was in, I think you're going to see a lot of the same stuff.
When the Utes take the field on Thursday, what's the single biggest difference we're going to see between this year's team and last year's team?
Hopefully production on offense. That was I think we were 2 for 17 on third down against the Aggies last year. And I don't know if you're ever going to win a football game going 2 for 17 on third down. I mean, that's atrocious. And so we hope to be much different offensively, much more productive, much more explosive than we were last year. And if we're going to compete in the Pac-12, as we go through the conference schedule, that has to happen. That has to be the case.
How much of an increase in plays per game do you think you'll average now?
Good question. I would say just off the top of my head, you'd hope for 8 to 10 to 12, somewhere in that range from what we were last year. But we haven't put an exact number we'd like to hit. We just want to play up tempo and get in, get on the football, get it snapped, run the play, and same thing over and over. Just get the tempo where we need it. And with Utah State probably doing the same thing this year, at least we anticipate that. It could be a game that might be a 4-hour game and a lot of plays.
Coach, what does it mean to you personally to have a guy like Dennis Erickson on your staff? And now that football week has arrived, you've been through spring and fall, what has he done? What have you seen out of the offense since his arrival?
Well, first of all, it's been a huge benefit to all of us to have Coach Erickson with us, not only from an offensive standpoint, but as I've said before, a sounding board for me, a guy that's been in just about every situation imaginable as a head coach. And so, if a situation arises for me where I need some advice, there's no better guy to go to, and he's right down the hall from me. And so it's been big, and the players have really embraced him. And but like I say, we got to wait until we line up on Thursday and see exactly what the effects are. But so far, it's been very positive.
Coach, you talked about Chuckie Keeton's ability to extend plays and to improvise. What specifically have you and your coaches done this week to prepare your defense for that?
Well, we got a couple athletic quarterbacks that have been running the scout team and being the Chuckie's duplicate, trying to duplicate what he does, and Brandon Cox and Micah Thomas, and they're both exceptional scramblers and very similar style of play. So that's been a big help to have those guys running the scout offense. We've also had a bunch of what we call scramble drills, where the quarterback breaks contain and needing to stay on coverage. We call it plaster, stick on your coverage and maybe have to cover 6, 7, 8 seconds at times. And so we've done our best to duplicate exactly what Chuckie's strengths are, and we'll see what happens.
I don't know if you talked about it much during fall camp, but it seemed like Phillips was really good. Do you expect that Andy Phillips, your kicker?
Andy Phillips,
You
yeah.
expect that to continue, obviously?
We hope so, and everything we've seen through fall camp has been exactly that. He's been lights out and really has separated himself completely from the rest of the specialists. And we're hoping that when the lights are bright and he's out there, that he does the same thing in the game that he's been doing in practice, because he's been exceptional for us. That'll be a big plus if we can get him to kick the same way in the game that he's been kicking for us in practice.
What's your plan for utilizing that stud linebacker spot with Bleck and Trevor Reilly in that rotation?
Yeah, well, those guys, Trevor mainly is a guy that can play both down on the defensive line and at linebacker. He'll be playing both this week. You'll see him moving around. Blecken, we're not sure what his status is going to be, but Trevor is going to be a guy, and you're going to see this all year long, where as per the opponent and as per the scheme we're playing, where he fits best is where we're going to utilize him. But he's a guy that is, we feel he's a big impact player on defense for us, and we expect him to make a bunch of plays, and we're going to try to put him in position to do so.
Coach, you mentioned how you thought about the loss to the Aggies a lot since you lost to them.
Yeah.
Do you think that affected how the team played the rest of the year?
I think in a way it may have set the tone for a lot of things. And that's something about this profession. You got to be able to bounce back, and there's going to be disappointing losses, and you got to move forward. And so you'd like to think that we were able to put it behind us, but I think it lingered for a while without a doubt. And me personally, I didn't handle it the best. And I'll put that squarely on my shoulders, and I was not resilient enough, when you talk about that game.
How much do you go head-to-head with Utah State in recruiting?
Not often, not very often. In-state is about really the only time that it occurs. I can't recall. And when you say head-to-head, I mean, when a recruit comes down to his last 2 or 3 schools, very seldom. Now, do we offer the same guys quite often? Yeah, we often offer the same guys, but when it comes right down to decision-making time, it hasn't occurred a lot.
The fact that they beat you last year, do you ever use the revenge factor as a motivating factor for your team?
Well, yeah, you want to, we talk about, winning in-state games. That's a priority for us, and we play on anything we can for motivation. And last year was a huge disappointment, as we said over and over and over. And so we got to try to get that corrected.
Kyle, you opened with 3 straight home games, 5 of 6 at home. Can you talk about reestablishing the way things, earlier in your career, the way things were going here at home as far as the 21-game winning streak? Last couple of years have been a little.
Yeah, we want to make Rice Eccles a place that is very tough for our opponents to come in and play, and the home field advantage is something that, as you mentioned, in years past has been very good to us. We've had sold-out stadiums, the muss, all the things that are involved with that. But, we've got to do our best to get that corrected, but it also has a great deal to do with who's coming to your stadium week in and week out. I mean, that's very obvious, too.
Coach, overall, happy with how the team came out of camp, satisfied with what you saw, improvement and that kind of thing?
I didn't get the first part of
Were
that.
you overall happy with how the team came out of camp?
Yeah, very much so. And I think the leadership has been excellent. And the players have taken taken ownership of the football team, which is what you want to see happen. And this team genuinely cares about each other. Great chemistry on this football team, and that's a credit to the players because that's something that comes from within.
Kind of your ongoing defensive storyline through fall camp was your secondary. Mm-hmm. Now the camp's done. Now you've got the opener. How confident do you feel in maybe your top 3 or 4 corners heading into Utah State, or is it one of those, let's wait and see?
Well, athletically, very confident. They've got speed, they've got athleticism, so a lot of ability, zero experience for the most part. And so it's going to be a wait and see thing, but based on what we've seen in practice and the improvement we've seen from spring ball through fall camp to right now, they've made a ton of progress, but doesn't change the fact that none of them have played corner in a game, and so that's something that you never can completely predict how a young man's going to react when the lights are on and it's on the bright stage. So we'll see what happens.
Coach, you may have touched on this earlier, but when people think of rivalries, they think Utah BYU. This is older, though. What does this rivalry mean to you and to this university, and how special is it to kick off the season with this?
Well, it's important for in-state. I mentioned we don't go head-to-head a lot of the time in recruiting, but still, you want to take care of things in your own backyard. I mean, that's important, and Utah State's obviously in our backyard, so it's always going to be an important game as long as they're on the schedule.
And then, have you had trouble defensing a quarterback like Chuckie Keeton before, who's mobile, can do kind of a dual threat guy, and are you better equipped this year to handle it?
Well, it's always a problem, and that's a defensive coordinator's one of his worst nightmares is a dual threat quarterback, and that's why not everybody, but most people in the country are going to that, and it presents problems that your old traditional pocket passer or just a guy that is just a runner, a guy that can do both is the ultimate weapon, and so hopefully we're equipped to deal with that this year. Like I said, we dealt with it pretty good last year. We played pretty good defense against them, but anytime you have a guy that can hurt you both ways, and then you add the spread element and then the option element, the option game, it all makes it very difficult to defend. And that's why people are doing so much of it.